So hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Yoon and today's video is going to be a joint video on what I read in both March and April. If you've seen the thumbnail, it's only for books I read in March because I did film what I read in it and I had like taken a picture of what I wanted the thumbnail to look like. So we're just keeping that one, okay? I thought it turned out pretty nice, so we're keeping it, but I'm going to add what I read in April here as well. So let's get into what I read. So total, within the past 2 months, I read 5 books, 2 in March and 3 in April. And yeah, so most of these were either 3 to 4 stars. I think only one of the 5 books was a 3-star. Everything else was a 4-star. Let's get into it. So first of all, what I read in March. I read 2 books. I read Solo Leveling Volume 2 and The Only One Left by Riley Sager. Both of those were 4 stars. I will have to say for Solo Leveling, I do definitely prefer the webtoon and the animation over the web novel. Makes me enjoy the webtoon more is that because of the way it's translated into English. So I'm going to try to keep this short and simple, but basically in Korea it's very normal and common to use sound effects or like onomatopoeia within even like casual conversation. Is just a very common thing to see and to read in novels as well. But I personally think, especially when it comes to any sort of like action adventure novel in English, like originally written in English, onomatopoeia or sound effects are just not used a lot, especially when it comes to fight scenes. Rather than using sound effects, or again, we'll just call them sound effects. Rather than using sound effects, it's normally most of the time the fight scene is described. Like there's no usage of clang for like swords like clanging against each other or pow pow for like punches and stuff. But in Korea, in like within Korean, that is more common and more often used as opposed to English. So when the novel is translated from Korean to English, that use of sound effects does get translated as well. But the thing is, I think because it's not common within the English language, it does end up coming off as a bit cringe. Like for me personally, that's kind of like where I think my feeling of cringe when I would read it, or just mild embarrassment when I read it, would come from, was because I probably wouldn't blink at reading that in Korean, but reading it in English, where I know it's not very commonly used, it does have like this weird sense of awkwardness when you read it. So I think that's like the biggest, not issue, but the biggest struggle I might have had when it comes to reading Solo Leveling in English and like being able to enjoy it all the way. And then volume 2 has this the scene with Kang Tae-sik, I think his name is, where our main character Sung Jin-woo, he fights against a B-rank hunter because he needs to survive and like save 2 other people. And the end of the fight, the webtoon and the anime adaptation both kind of developed that conversation and that scene more in a way that kind of like kickstarts Chinu's development into kind of the character and the hunter he's eventually going to become. The novel, on the other hand, to my surprise, did not really do that. It kind of glossed over the fight and the ending and everything, and I feel like the webtoon and the anime adaptation did a better job in kind of making it impactful, like by saying this is the start of Sung Jin-woo's, like, because the thing for him is that he feels like he's starting to lose his sense of humanity, like what makes him human, which is like his sense of empathy. He feels like he's starting to lose it and therefore kind of lose his connection and identity with humans and humanity, and I felt like this was kind of the starting point of that like development and realization and everything that the novel did not actually gloss over, whereas I think the way the anime and the webtoon like focused on it was actually really well done. I like the visual, the way the webtoon drew it, but I think there was like an extra conversation or comment thrown in the anime adaptation that I actually personally really did like. So it was just like things like that, like it's still enjoyable, but on a personal level I do prefer the other two adaptations a lot more. For me, the webtoon will always be number one though. Like, I don't know what to tell you, it's always going to be number one for me. But yeah, so that was Solo Leveling. And the other book I read in March was The Only One Left by Riley Sager. And I don't know if it's because I filmed this video so many times, but I feel like it's uploaded on my channel. I checked it last night. I don't have anything like that, so I don't know what's going on. But The Only One Left was actually quite fun. I rated it 4 stars. Like I said, these two are 4 stars. And basically it's a... is it horror? I guess... oh my gosh, am I breaking out? It's like a mystery thriller that seems to be taking inspiration from Lizzie Borden, and it's very heavily inspired by her story. So our main character is a nurse who's accused of doing like some sort of angel of death action in which they believe she mercifully murdered her latest patient, and then because her reputation's in ruin, the job is like, well, there's only one thing we are willing to give you, and it's a job nobody else wants, and it's to take care of this elderly lady who is known within town to be accused and believed to have been the murder of her entire family. And yeah, but then she gets there, and then the elderly lady is like, I'm going to tell you the entire truth of everything that happened, everything that led up to that day and what truly happened. And yeah, so that was interesting. I was a little apprehensive because the last book I had read by Riley Sager was Survive the Night, and I did not like that book. For me, for Survive the Night, Survive the Night only happened because of plot armor in the wrong way, in which things only happened because our main character was just stupid and had zero common sense. And so all of that happened because, like, none of it would have happened had our main character probably had been like a normal character. I think like she was just dumbed down for the sake of making the story itself happen, because I just feel like so many things would have been avoided had our main character just been smarter and like had more common sense. But moving on. So yeah, this one was fun. There were a lot of plot twists near the end, but I do feel like some of them were not necessarily good plot twists, because there was like absolutely zero hints or like sense of foreshadowing that would make those plot twists make sense. Like, for me personally, one way I find a plot twist to be good is that if I were to go back and look through everything, I would find hints that could result in that possibility. But for one of the bigger plot twists that happened in the end, there were like zero hints leading up to it. Like, if they had hinted to maybe somewhat of a spoiler, but if they had hinted to something regarding the first name or something, like there was literally just one hint, but then that was not even a hint because that could have implied so many things. So it's like that plot twist was a big plot twist, but personally I didn't think it was a very good one. And then the ending also confused me because of the way some of the characters acted in those moments. It just didn't seem very in character, or it didn't really make sense as to why they chose to do what they did in those moments. So yeah, it was good, but it wasn't like amazing. It was definitely an upgrade from Survive the Night, and let me tell you that. Okay, so that's it for March. And then for the books I read in April, I read Harrow by Kat Ellis, The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher, and Never Lie by Frida McFadden. So Harrow was interesting. At that time, I was really in my horror era, and I am normally more of a supernatural horror person, which is a shame because I can't watch horror movies, but I am very interested in kind of like the lore and the stories within horror movies. I just can't handle the jump scares. So I went to books because I was like, I can't handle reading it. But I went to books. I found Harrow and it seemed like perfect. It seemed like it was everything I was looking for, but I don't know if it was because I was entering like a reading slump or something, but it just took me forever to get through that book. It was such a slog to read, but it wasn't bad. I myself was just not able to get into the book. But that being said, I do think that even if I wasn't entering that weird slump mode, I would still feel the same as I do now after having read the book. So it's basically a small town, like small local legend horror style movie in which our main character gets sent to the small town in which her mom came from, and which her dad filmed his like what's that word, like what his thing to fame movie, and like what landed him as like a horror cult classic director, where he met the mom, they got married, blah blah blah, and where he like got the inspiration for the small town legend. And so she's sent there because like her dad was in an accident and she needs to be taken care of by the next able person of family, which is her grandma. And then she starts to like explore, trying to figure out and learn about her mom, but then she's like encountering things that seem to be the actions of that small town legend, which is who's called like Mr. Jitters, and blah 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 blah. I can't say too much without delving into spoilers, so this might not, I don't think this sounded like a very good summary, but yeah. But anyways, it sounded like it had everything, like, you know, small town legend, creepy, interesting legend figure, and it sounded very supernatural and everything. But this will be a bit of a spoiler, I guess a big spoiler if you think about it, but I was disappointed in how what seemed to have implied supernatural horror the entire time ended up not being supernatural at all, which I personally was disappointed by that. I would have preferred it if they had kept it supernatural and they like kept Mr. Jitters as like a genuinely real figure. But then I'm like also wondering if maybe Mr. Jitters was real because there were too many unexplained situations that happened that don't make sense without Mr. Jitters, I suppose. But I guess it's the way that the focus and the importance of the story shifted from Mr. Jitters to like the reveal that they did behind the truth of her mom and just like her family and herself and everything. So that was personally a bit of a letdown. But yeah, it wasn't poorly written or anything. It did do well with like being creepy and all of that, but yeah. And then the next book I read was The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. This is my second book that I read by them, and I'm currently reading the third one for a friend. And I'm wondering if maybe I'm just not, T. Kingfisher is just not for me, because this one was also a 3-star, but I want to say a good amount of it was because it was so confusing in its writing. So this one is a folk horror in which our main character goes to her recently deceased grandma's house to clean it up because their grandma is a hoarder. And then she comes across this journal written by her step-grandpa, and it seems at first to be the writings of like a senile old man who's talking about faces on rocks, like seeing things in the forest that's like right next to their house, and repeating this like phrase all the time throughout the journal. And first, you know, like she thinks it's because he just got too old at the time he passed away, but then she starts encountering and experiencing the same things he has written about, and she's like, oh, okay, never mind, this seems to be like a genuinely real existing thing. And then she gets swept into this really confusing and creepy world, and she needs to figure out a way to like fight against them so that she can survive. And that's basically it for the summary. And I will say that this story was really well written in its creepiness and kind of like the jump scares and everything, but personally for me, I was just so confused by the world building within the folk horror aspect, because I wasn't sure like how much of it I was just supposed to accept as like it being like, here's what happens, just accept it. But I wanted a lot more of an explanation, like why come all the way here, and then like how much can they find out on their own, like, and then specifically if one thing is required for our main character to have been targeted, but then like she didn't have it in the first place, how could that have happened to her in the first place then? So there's just a lot of things that kind of like requirements or conditions that were tied into the folk horror like mystery that I just thought didn't really make a lot of sense. So that was how I felt about The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. And then the last one I read was Never Lie by Frida McFadden. That one I think was a 4-star. I think it was a 4.5, but I actually really like this one. If I had to pick a favorite from April, it probably would be this one. But this one is basically our main character. She recently got married to this guy, and now they're looking for a house to buy, and they're going to check out this one place, and it turns out it's really beautiful, it's amazing, but it turns out it belongs to the house of this really renowned psychiatrist who disappeared mysteriously and has yet to be found. And then stuff happens, they get stuck in it, and then our main character, she finds this secret room that has all these recordings that are missing psychiatrist like recorded for her sessions, and it kind of like starts to lead up to what might have been the reason for her disappearance. And then it starts to kind of like reveal even more behind what might have happened to our psychiatrist. And yeah, I thought this was really fun. I thought it was really interesting. I really loved the plot twist. The plot twist was just really fun, and for me personally, I was not expecting it in any way. I did get kind of like a minor plot twist somewhat correct, but the main biggest plot twist was so wild, but I loved it. Like, I thought it was so good. I was shocked and amazed and invested in the end. I will say I did get a little bored in the middle part, because it's just a lot of small things that didn't necessarily add to the plot, but it just felt kind of like filler. But you know, a lot of thinking, a lot of like trying to figure things out on your own, and then a lot of other things happen. But for me, the thing that really made it shine was the plot twist, and then the remaining like 1/4 of the book. It was way too good. Like, I didn't see it coming, but I loved the way it turned out, and the way it ended was also pretty, like, not intense, but like who knows what might happen later on. But yeah, I really enjoyed Never Lie by Frida McFadden. That plot twist though, like, I can't get over it. But yeah, I will say one of the red herrings was actually, for me, a really good red herring, because personally, again, like, very personal, subjective, it really kept me convinced about something, even though I did end up being wrong. But wrong in a sense, but also I was still a little bit right, so I'm gonna take that little crumb of victory. But the plot twist and the reveal and the last 1/4 of the book is just, for me, it's just too good. It was the best part of the book, and I really enjoyed it. I am glad I was able to read it. So yeah. And that was it for the books I read in March and April. I currently have some things to read for May. As you all know, or I guess you don't know because this video is coming out first. But I'm currently reading a very fun book for a friend and their birthday. I hope you look forward to the reading vlog of that. It's going to be quite long. But yeah, that was it. I am going to stop talking for here. Let me know how your guys' reading month went. What were your favorite books? If you have any supernatural horror novels to recommend, please let me know in the comment section below. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you liked it, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.